Welcome to the Rising Society podcast. I'm Shane Kennedy.
I'm Nico Galliano, the rejected gentleman.
And tonight we are joined with a very, very special guest. Yeah, we can go ahead and take him off. Or actually, wait. With Daniel Wheeler. Yeah, take him off.
Nice. Fucking nice, boys.
Yeah, taking the glasses off, that's always the highlight of my week. So just to give everyone a little bit of an introduction, Daniel Wheeler was doing podcasting before podcasting was even a thing. There used to be a little thing out there known as Blogtalk Radio, which most people probably don't know about it, or maybe they knew about it and they forgot about it. But Daniel owned that place. He owned it.
When did you start that, Daniel?
Oh God,
Was that like 2003?
a long time ago.
Yeah, it had to be close to 2003, right? Right around there?
Yeah.
Let's just say that it's been a while.
Yeah.
And Dana would get on there and he would talk about movies, he would talk about sports, he would talk about current events, he'd talk about theology, he would talk about everything on there. And then he would even have guests come on there, and those guests would argue. Sometimes those guests would argue with themselves.
I don't think any of that's true, is it, Daniel?
It's absolutely true.
There was a mixture of it, just like how Shane does things. There's a little mixture of truth in there.
Little hint of
It was
in there.
it was like a big carnival.
Like a circus, like a clown show.
It was like all the aspects of a carnival, but not the clowns.
I remember listening. No, so you were actually mostly sports, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I thought so because I remember listening, and it was all sports. It wasn't just football, even though it was primarily geared towards racing and football, or what was it?
It was mostly football.
Mostly football. I thought so. Yeah, because it's the way Shane made it sound. But I know you did mix it up a little there at the end. But the whole point of this isn't that how Joe Rogan started? Like,
Yeah,
he
I
started
think so.
back around that same time, and I mean, look what that's turned into. So
He might have started on Blog Talk Radio too. Because I think that was pretty much the only game in town as far as podcasting goes back then.
Dude, I would just remember. I'm gonna be honest, so you guys can mark me here. Obviously, I'm not good at reading trends because I remember when that was out, and Daniel was like, "Yeah, no, I'm really into this," and I listened to it. And I'm like, "It's cool. I don't see this ever catching on though." And now I'm fucking doing one. And it's like the most popular thing in the world.
Well, and that's the thing. You and I both said this is never going to catch on.
No one's going to go on the computer and listen.
But Daniel was saying this is going to catch on. Yeah. It may not catch on next year. It may not catch on in 5 years, but it's going to catch on.
So you did catch that trend.
Yeah.
Which was impressive.
I tend to do that.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So why don't you? So all right. So actually, the biggest news of the day is that it's Memorial Day, and
we should have started off with that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's Memorial Day, so thank you to all of the heroes that are defending our country, and that's one of the reasons that I'm wearing a red, white, and blue tie. Mm-hmm. You know.
What's the yellow shirt for?
Well, I've got a yellow shirt and I've got a blue jacket in honor of the Ukraine.
Nice. I like that. And I'm wearing red and black. And never mind, I don't get us canceled. So
and the war in Yemen.
Yeah, in Yemen. That's right.
And Shane is trying to look like... And Shane's going to go after this and work his shift at the Blue Banana Stand.
Is that the Arrested Development?
Yes,
reference?
That's the Arrested Development. Yeah,
I may or may not burn it down.
Well, you know what they always say, there's always money in the banana stand.
Until you burn it down.
I mean...
That's a reference from Blease, isn't it?
No,
that's from Arrested Development.
Oh, is it? Oh,
no, I mean, how can you not understand there's always money in the banana stand? So what the reference is George Bluth Sr. lined $250,000 in the walls of the banana stand, and his son burned the building down. So he burned $250,000.
Jesus.
So
yeah, I remember you guys were talking about that earlier. I only watched. I never got into it. I only watched like one episode. I was more of a Office kind of guy.
Well, you know the thing that got me into I remember Arrested Development would come on. It was on Sunday nights on Fox, and what would come on before it was King of the Hill and Malcolm in the Middle. And King of the Hill, that I think King of the Hill is the greatest. I think it's the greatest show to ever air on television, ever.
And so said David Gard's computer on our trip to California.
In the scheme of things, I think you're actually right, Shane, because I feel like
of course I am.
That show,
of course,
I hated that. I feel like that show didn't. I know it was super popular, but it doesn't get the recognition like Simpsons, Family Guy, all that. But the writing, to me at least, and I know people are gonna fucking lose their mind on this, I actually like the writing in King of the Hill better than the Simpsons and Family Guy, and for that matter, even like American Dad. Rick and Morty's on a whole different level of writing. All the stoners out there know what I'm talking about. But King of the Hill, for that kind of show, I think it was probably the best.
Well, Nico, you're talking about the difference between Seth MacFarlane and Mike Judge. Mike Judge was also the director of Idiocracy, a movie that has standed the test of time for like seeing the trend of how stupid we are becoming.
Yeah.
So he's and Mike Judge was also the Beavis and Butthead creator.
Was he?
Yeah.
He did Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill?
He also did Office Space, too.
Oh, so yeah. I mean, that's hands down. He's whooping Seth MacFarlane's ass.
Yeah.
All over the writing. And I'm not taking anything away from Seth MacFarlane. I know, especially with today's generation, that's probably a little more up their alley, pressing the envelopes kind of.
It's a preference thing.
It was like a milder version. I always feel like Seth MacFarlane was a milder version of those two Canadian guys. The South Park guys. Are they brothers or friends?
They're not Canadian. They are.
They just make fun of Canadians a lot.
Are they not Canadian?
No.
They are actually from Colorado.
Are they really?
They are.
Oh shit! I thought they were Canadians.
No, they're from Colorado. That's a real thing that they're making fun of their town. Not South Park specifically, but of Colorado. So no, but they make fun of everybody, but especially Canadians.
Now you see, here, I'm about to drop a very unpopular opinion.
Here it comes.
Now, Seth MacFarlane, my last name is Kennedy. Seth MacFarlane is obviously another Irishman, but I think Seth MacFarlane stuff, I don't think it will stand the test of time.
I don't either.
Now, on the other hand, the stuff that Mike is it Judge or is it Judge? Judge. The stuff that Mike Judge has done, it with some of it Certainly helps if you understand the context. Like I'll give you an example. Like the King of the Hill episode, it was called Hillenium. It was around the whole Y2K thing.
Yeah.
And that episode, you don't have to know anything about Y2K to find it funny. But with a lot of Seth MacFarlane stuff, he did Futurama, right?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think
Well,
that's correct.
Oh, I thought he did. No.
I think he's just American Dad and Family Guy, right?
Seth MacFarlane is Family Guy and American Dad.
Okay.
And what was the show you just mentioned?
Futurama.
Futurama it's not him, but Futurama is the person that created The Simpsons.
Okay. Well, so
I thought. Go ahead. Finish.
So my take on it is the Seth MacFarlane stuff, Family Guy and whatever else he's been involved in, which is it's funny stuff. But I think down the road, if you don't understand the cultural context, I don't really think you're going to find it funny because his stuff, it's caricatures. It's making fun of like pop culture topics mostly.
Yeah, very trendy topics in society at the time.
But when you look at Mike Judge and also too, if you look at what the South Park guys do, they're making fun of human nature. They're developing characters that are very simple. But those characters are tools that are used in service of the story to make fun of just like of funny little idiosyncrasies in human behavior. You know, like Peggy Hill and Hank Hill and Bobby Hill and stuff. Like they have their funny little behaviors. They're experiencing Y2K and stuff, but it's the thing that's funny. It's not whether or not Y2K is happening. It's the thing that's funny are the underlying characters, you know. But on the other hand, when you look at Family Guy, the little inside jokes and stuff on there that make it funny, it's making fun of other stuff that's happening in the culture.
No, I agree with that 100%.
I feel like I just used a lot more words to explain that than I needed to, and I think
20 seconds you literally repeated the same thing like 9 times.
Yeah, and I think this single cup of coffee, I think it's got the power of like 10 K-cups.
Well, it's because I spiked it.
Okay.
So you're gonna be through the moon, buddy.
Yeah, to the moon. but so and then, you know, Rick and Morty. This is another unpopular opinion. I've watched some Rick and Morty. I really don't find it very funny.
It's because you're dumb.
Well, and you know what? That's an unpopular opinion that you may have.
That's a popular opinion.
But the thing is, like Rick and Morty, I think it's just a caricature of Marty McFly and Dr. whatever his name was.
Doc Brown.
Doc Brown.
Yeah, Doc
Oh,
Brown.
whatever, Doc Brown. No, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
It's the comedy of that. So what?
But you're not really going to find it very funny, and you're not really going to find it very funny unless you're clued into the context.
No,
But
what are you talking about, dude? The writing is out of this world.
That's opposed to something like King of the Hill, where you can watch any of those episodes standalone, especially the earlier on ones,
Rick
and
Morty
those things
beats
are hilarious.
The piss out of King on the Hill.
Dude, no. Listen. Rick and Morty is like a fast food restaurant that everyone has just raved about and told me that it's delicious, it's great, it's the greatest fried chicken, the greatest burgers in the world. Then you go there and try it, and it tastes like frozen food that you put in the microwave. It's not bad. It's just not all that good.
Did you just compare Rick and Morty to In-N-Out Burger? Because that's what it is. Everyone talks about In-N-Out, and it's the shittiest fast food. And I'm from California. It's shit.
So I'll agree with you that In-N-Out Burger's not it's not everything that it's cracked up to be, but it is good as far as fast food goes.
Let's get Daniel on this. Daniel, are you a fan of Rick and Morty?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and you're also a fan of King of the Hill?
Yes, I am.
Now, when you look at them, and I know one's obviously much more popular at the moment, but in 50 years, which one do you think will have more cultural
more staying power?
Yeah, more staying power. Do you think it'll be Rick and Morty, or do you think it'll be King of the Hill?
Based on where the world is going now, Rick and Morty.
Thank you.
Because what you've done is that you've already discredited a show because you're upset that they used likeness of two characters that you associate, so you already assumed what the show was about already before you gave it a shot. So
I concur.
So you didn't give the show an opportunity. You just got pissed that somebody looked like Doc Brown and somebody looked like Marty McFly, and he said, "I hate this shit."
I think it's creatively lazy, you know, and I would say the same thing about Family Guy, because you know Family Guy is it's a caricature of American sitcoms. You know, like the very beginning of it, it's a caricature of All in the Family. Okay. You know, it's all just caricatures, and the thing is, caricatures on top of caricatures on top of caricatures, those are not. It's not something original. It's just making fun of other stuff. But when you look at something like King of the Hill, and even as simple as some of those characters in King of the Hill are, you don't need to be in on anything to understand how funny it is.
You don't need to be in on, dude. I think you're way overplaying the Rick and Morty, the Doc Brown, Marty McFly reference. That's just the characters they're kind of based off of visually.
Because Rick is nothing like Doc Brown.
Nothing like
and
Doc
Morty
Brown.
is nothing like Marty McFly.
Yeah, like Morty's a big pussy in the show, where Marty McFly did everything to prove that he was tough. and he was tough. He's just a little guy, right? Doc Brown is nowhere near like Rick Sanchez. Doc Brown talks about they have a responsibility not to disturb, like, the things bigger than themselves. So we have to put it right. We can't mess with this. And Rick Sanchez is all about chaos. They're almost the opposite versions of those two characters.
Pretty much.
It's just their character design that's the same. And I know you don't know this because you are being intellectually lazy. What did you watch? One episode?
I've tried watching about 2 episodes and I just haven't liked it. So
intellectually lazy.
So listen. So this is what we can do.
Okay.
You guys can hand pick like 2 or 3 episodes of Rick and Morty, and I'll sit through and watch them, and then we can come back on here, and we can talk about, and I can share my opinion with you as to whether watching those episodes changed my mind, which I don't think it will. And if it doesn't, then I'll criticize them.
No, we'll watch season 1. You got to actually get it.
I don't have enough time to sit through like 10 hours of a bunch of bullshit.
It's 10, 30-minute episodes, you lazy bitch.
Shane, the thing is, on a lot of shows, you're going to need to be patient and give time. It's just like, for instance, like Parks and Recreation.
Season 1 is horrible.
It's not good. It takes time to build on these shows, to develop the stories, to develop the characters. Any of the shows, a lot of these shows.
Chuck's a piece of shit.
A lot of these shows, it takes time. You can't just pick the first few episodes and say, I don't think there's ever been a show that the first few episodes you're like, holy crap, this is the best thing ever. And
have you ever seen Daredevil on Netflix?
Game of Thrones?
I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones was exactly like that to me. I couldn't get into it until later. Like,
what?
No, really.
It starts off with the White Walkers, man. It was so good.
The new Game of Thrones?
No, the old Game of Thrones starts off with the White Walkers. The 3 Night Watchmen are going out into the woods to investigate.
So there's a new Game of Thrones and an old Game of Thrones?
No. Yeah,
I know what he meant. He meant House of
Dragon.
Yeah,
okay, because there's a okay. What I meant, what we're meaning is there is a new prequel series that's out there. That's
for Game of Thrones?
For Game of Thrones, correct. It has nothing to do with any of the characters. In this series, it's like 100 some years before this. I haven't watched that yet.
Good.
I've been meaning to. I think I watched maybe the first episodes. I hadn't watched it, but I've heard good things, and I am going to whenever I get situated. But
well, I'd like to hear more about that.
But yeah.
Now that new Game of Thrones, is that going to be on? The original was on HBO, wasn't it?
It's on HBO.
Okay, so this new one is on HBO too?
Excuse me. It's called Max now, by the way. It's just Max.
Oh, okay.
It's just Max now.
First season's already out. It ended in like February, dude. Or maybe something
The first season of Game of Thrones came out like a long time ago.
The House of Dragon, fucker, the new one you were just talking about.
It's called The House of Dragons, the new series.
Is that not so? Is it like a Splinter series? Does it just
it's a prequel. What are you?
Okay,
you didn't. It's like the Rick and Morty thing all over again. You didn't listen,
dude. This is great podcasting.
All right.
I want you to know that.
So all right, so here I just had a chance to think about Rick and Morty a little bit more. One of my main criticisms of Rick and Morty, along with several, and listen, I am going to go back. I want for you guys to pick a few episodes for me to watch, and I'll go and watch them.
All of season
and
1.
Then and then we will have part 2 of this podcast, where and we can devote the whole damn thing to talking about Rick and Morty if you guys want to.
I'll talk about fucking Rick and Morty.
But this is the thing. I guess the thing I don't like about Rick and Morty that struck me about them was good characters have limits. You know, like the Hills, for instance. They
last name basis.
There are a lot of limitations on all the characters in King of the Hill, and it makes them funny. Like John Redcorn and Dale and all of them. It makes it funny. But with Rick and Morty, they don't really, there really aren't, there's not much in the way of limits on them. Their limits are by choice. Like that, whichever, I don't even know I don't even know which is which. but
Jesus
but
Christ.
but the one
You don't know which one's
Yeah.
Rick and which one's Morty?
I don't because dude, the thing is I just don't have that much room in my brain to fill it with a bunch of useless
So tiny,
facts.
obviously. Yeah,
But
it's like you gotta delete. You gotta free it. You know when Google's like you're almost full on memory, you gotta start deleting shit out of there so you can free up space.
remind me about freeing up space because I've got something to share with you guys in a few minutes.
All right.
But the thing is that with Rick and Morty it's all about that they're making the choice not to change stuff in the time in like the timeline or whatever it is.
No, the stuff happens and it does change and they try to fix it kind of.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's all ultimately. Oh, sorry.
Are you good?
It's all ultimately up to them. It's their personal choice as to whether they're going to fix it or not. And then they choose the limits. They choose the rules that they're going to live by. But on the other hand, when you've got King of the Hill, all those characters have to live within the similar set of rules that we have to live in. And it's funny. It speaks to human nature, but Rick and Morty really don't.
That's the whole point of it, dude. Why do you think the Marvel movies are so popular with the newest part, the metaverse and all of that stuff?
Because listen, our peers are remarkably simple.
Quantum physics is what you're saying is simple.
So that's a discussion for another day, but
That's a discussion for another time. Okay.
Quantum physics is largely bullshit.
That's the whole point of it. Do you remember Quantum Leap from the 80s?
I never saw that.
Dude, what is wrong with you? You should not have opinions on anything that comes out in the entertainment industry.
Well, you know what?
Shitty bands. You
don't
like shitty
well, okay,
books.
all right, here.
You
Don't
like shitty shows.
don't seek my opinion then if you don't like it.
I didn't seek your opinion. Daniel mentioned something. And then you came out with and you know what? King of the Hill is phenomenal. That was my original statement.
But listen, but
then you talk shit about something you saw a show and a half of, and you don't even know which one is Rick or Morty.
Dude, listen, you
don't even know the characters. You're shitting all over it.
Listen. Both of you have known me for a very, very long time, haven't you?
Yes.
And both of you know that I have opinions on everything.
They're just always wrong.
All right? No, they're not always wrong.
Okay. Do you think
No,
it's
here.
fair? No. Do you think it's fair for someone to form an opinion? Right, of course it's fair. You can always have an opinion on anything. Do you think it's
Bingo.
Do you think it's
Bingo.
intellectually disingenuous for someone to come out as strong as Shane has and say that it's a shitty show when he's watched exactly 40 minutes worth of content between an episode and a half
Or less.
and he doesn't even know the characters, which there's only fucking 2 of, by the way. He doesn't even know who they are. That's like saying I don't like Tom and Jerry. I don't know which one's which. I don't know who Tom or Jerry is, which you probably fucking don't for the record.
For the record, I do know who Tom and Jerry are, and Tom and Jerry. That's a far better series than Rick and Morty is.
That's not what was posed. I'm using that.
Well,
as
I'm
a
posing
comparison.
that. I'm posing that now, because you brought Tom and Jerry into this.
Well, just like Tom, you make me want to run through a fucking wall. Also, so
and also too, I'm gonna go ahead, and Daniel, I'm gonna go ahead and quote Nico. Nico said everyone is entitled to have an opinion, and Nico also said that he validates everyone's opinion.
do you think it's intellectually disingenuous for Shane to form an opinion on that show?
I mean, it's not stopped people from having their opinions wrong. It just means that it's not going to be a well-formed, educated opinion if you don't have the full spectrum of what you're talking about.
Thank you.
So
He said his piece.
you don't have to be a connoisseur of shit to know what shit is.
Well, that's
And-
ironic because
Yeah,
that's exactly
so-
what you're a connoisseur of.
So
is shit.
so this is the thing with Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
I can just look at it and I just know that it's shitty. It doesn't take a whole lot of investigation on my part. I don't have to go and invest a bunch of minutes of my day into watching a bunch of episodes of that stupid show.
You don't gotta be Sherlock Holmes to figure out. It's just dog shit.
Yeah, exactly. But so here, I do want to say this though. You brought up the metaverse, and the metaverse and all that quantum stuff and everything.
I know you hate it because
Yeah.
you think that people are trying to say that this reality, they can be lazy on moral obligations because there's others of them out there, and it makes them feel like death's not final. So there's other versions of them that might be better or worse.
The whole thing's dehumanizing. The whole thing is dehumanizing, and at the end of the day, I think it's an excuse through fantasy to try to make people feel better about living shitty lives.
It's a possibility.
All right, Daniel. And I'm ready to move on from Rick and Morty whenever you guys are, but because you guys know as well.
Last piece on this.
Because you guys know as well as I do, I could sit here and argue about Rick and Morty for hours.
But you're arguing from a point of you don't have anything to base it off of.
I don't have to listen. Yes, I do. My experience with that crappy show, Daniel.
Well, you mentioned about I don't have to be an expert as shit to know shit. Mm-hmm. The thing is there's always going to be people that are going to be experts in a certain genre that are just going to know more than you no matter what topic. So, shit, for instance, there's going to be somebody that's going to know more than you on this topic. There's going to be somebody that knows shit.
That's most topics for Shane.
There's going to be There's going to be somebody that knows more than you on shit. So, I
disagree with that statement.
Why is that?
Because Shane is an expert on shit.
but what I mean is, you can't have a well-formed, well-circled education on a topic in 1 or 2 episodes. You can't.
I agree. I think you got to get at least 6.
But the thing is, what I'm communicating to you guys is that my take on that show is that it's shitty.
That's fair.
Now, so the thing is, I'm not objectively saying that it's a show that needs to be like banned or something, or that I think it's going to be harmful to either one of you to watch it. Which it might be. I don't know. I don't know enough about the show to make that statement. I'm not a biologist, But the thing is, so I stand by what I said earlier. What I would like to do is for you guys to handpick what you think are the best Rick and Morty episodes.
Just watch the first season. We keep telling you that. We don't need a handpick. That's how good it is.
I don't have that many minutes in the day to spend to watch an entire season's worth of that terrible show. The only way it might, yeah.
Well, the fact that you said the terrible show is you have preconceivably already made up your mind.
Correct.
We all have
no matter what we showed him, Daniel, he would hate it.
But this is the thing: we all have preconceived notions about most everything.
That's true. Usually within a millisecond.
Right.
It takes us 2.7 seconds to form an opinion on someone.
Yep.
And that's just looking at them. You've already formed subconsciously an opinion on someone, and then once you actually start conversing with them, their body language, their tonality, that opinion changes over time. But your problem is that you looked at it, in your 2.7 seconds, you formed your opinion, and then just walked the fuck away.
Well, I guess my problem. Well, and again,
like, no.
So this is the thing. If you're dealing with a person, if you meet somebody and you just get bad vibes off them, and you just think, oh, I'm not really gonna like this person. Then you start talking to them. They might turn out to be an asshole, but like a likable asshole or something. You're like, you know what? I actually do like that person. There's a lot of depth whenever it comes to people. When it comes to Rick and Morty, that stuff's about as deep as a puddle.
No, dude. See, that's where you're wrong.
Yep.
The writing is ingenious. Let's move on from here. No. We're going to run circles on this.
Well,
we can't.
It will never be as well written as that show, Chuck. So here, let's move on. Let's just leave off on that.
Daniel and I, final statement. Daniel and I cannot force you to be right. So you're just going to be wrong on this.
And just remember, this. A majority or consensus, that is not where truth comes from.
I agree.
So the fact is, especially when it comes to this, I have assented to truth, and hopefully at some point you guys will also assent to the truth as well.
I agree with your statement. The minority is just fucking wrong in this instance.
No.
How that happened there.
And just like what Nico was saying about people in like the first few seconds give thoughts. When people look at Nico, they say, "Well, shit, this guy looks like he's a mobster or a part of the fucking Goodfellas gang."
I'm a mob for insurance.
Yeah,
that sounds really bad. That was a joke.
Well,
I should have thought that through. I meant I'm a mob when it comes to selling.
and then when you talk to him, he's a cool guy. So,
oh, thanks, man.
yeah. So I'm glad. I'm glad to be back. And so, like Shane said about the pick me a few episodes so that I can already have my preconceived thoughts there, and I can come back on this show. You can come back on this show and say, I hated this show that I already hated to begin with. But I'm just glad that I'm here so that I can, I'm in driving distance now, so I can come back on this show and join you guys.
Yeah, and
we'll do a part 2 of this show.
Yeah.
But right now, I want you to be in front of Daniel and I and all 19 people watching this. All right, and God himself. I want you to say this, that if you watch this first season or a couple episodes even, and you guys cherry pick, and you do like it, will you come on here and admit it? Because I know you have a problem with admitting you're wrong.
Listen. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to state my opinion.
Your word?
Yes, my word. 100%.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to come on here and state my opinion either way about Rick and Morty, whether I loved the episodes, whether I hated the episodes, or whether I just didn't even really care about them either way.
Well, there's just one thing I got to say. Show me what you got.
That's right. That's right. He doesn't get the reference.
Yeah, that's got to well, so that's that's got to be some kind of an inside joke, but it looked like a really terrible inside joke. Okay. I don't even know where it's from.
Okay. Yeah.
But it looks like it's probably from something really, really bad.
What's our next talking point?
Oh, here. So you mentioned something earlier about like inboxes being full.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
So I did want to bring up now this is a legitimate problem that I've got, and I'd like to know if you guys could help me solve it. My Gmail account right now, I can't even see how many, but right now it's 94% full.
Jesus.
I don't know. It's something. I think I've got something like 80,000 unread emails or something in there.
What?
It's something crazy.
I delete my emails every day.
Start deleting emails, buddy.
Well, so this is the thing. At this point,
I have 0 emails.
So at this point, I'm starting to get concerned.
Just go to delete all.
I'm not going to delete all because I've got important stuff in there.
No, you never be able to find it.
Well, yes, because I can search. You see, the thing is that Gmail is like it's like it's a digital filing cabinet.
Well, here's what you need to do.
I've got receipts in there. I've got all kinds of stuff in there.
Start a new Gmail for the 6 emails that you're saving, and then fucking just delete everything, dude, and forward it
I'm not
back.
saving 6 emails. I'm saving I've got like 60,000 emails that I need to save.
For what?
In case I need to look at them, down the road, like, receipts, confirmations of things, whatever.
What is wrong with you?
On the next episode of Hoarders.
Yeah, dude, you don't have a filing system?
It's called Gmail.
Oh my God, you're a crazy person.
So the thing is, I'm trying to figure out what to do.
You're fucked. You can't do anything. You have 80,000 emails, and you just said you want to save 60,000 of them.
Well, so this is the thing I don't understand. Why wouldn't Google allow you to get a second email account, and then you could just use that space from the second email account, and you could just allocate that to your original email account?
Because they know you're just clogging shit up, man. They want you to delete
this isn't
that
clogging. This isn't clogging anything up because this is important stuff that I've got.
Because there's not people that do this shit.
No, no one does that.
Well, if you guys don't have any solutions, then I guess we could probably just move on from this.
Yeah, no, we can move on from that. You're fucking crazy.
It wasn't one of the 4 topics.
It wasn't even on the topics.
All right,
shouldn't have brought it up. It was horrible.
Oh, actually, we've already talked about podcasting.
We did
on here.
So
we already knocked.
podcaster.
So do you guys want to jump into talking about Carole. Is it Baskins or is it Baskin?
It's Baskin.
So Baskin.
Carole
Baskins.
Baskins with an S.
So all right, so sort of like Baskin Robbins, except not including the Robbins, and it's just Baskin and not Baskins, or it's Baskins and not Baskin, right?
Either way,
That's that King of the Hill
either way,
humor right there. Dude. Everyone hated it.
I wasn't trying to be funny here.
either way.
No,
Joe,
I was just trying to be clear.
Either way, Joe Exotic hates her.
Yes, he does.
All right, so let me tell. So now listen. I'm somebody. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to pop culture stuff.
Yeah, this makes sense. You don't
But-
pay attention to anything modern.
But let me tell you what my take on this whole thing is,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong, and correct me if I need to be.
we'll give a percentage out of 100.
Okay, so my whole take on this situation is that Joe Exotic and Carole Baskins they were happily married for a while, and they
0% already.
and they had a bunch of cats. Then Joe Exotic they got divorced because Joe Exotic turned
0%.
well because Joe Exotic was like a bisexual or something, and that's the reason that they got divorced, because he wanted to pursue relationships with men, and
Yeah, you're like at 10%
he
now.
he went to then he went to Oklahoma, I remember Oklahoma being involved in this somehow. He went to Oklahoma. Joe Exotic ran for president from Florida, right?
No.
Yes, he did. Go look it up. I think it was 2012. Joe Exotic ran for president,
It wasn't president.
and lived in the state of Florida at the time. Yes, it was.
No.
Then a bunch of other stuff happened. I think Carole Baskin got remarried. She didn't like the guy, so she killed him or something, and then she buried him
Was he
underneath
running for president, or was he running for like governor?
president.
He did temporarily try to run for president.
President,
I thought
yes.
it was
Yep.
governor.
No, it was
And
president.
It wasn't in Florida.
He lived in Florida at the time, yes.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
man.
yep. Yeah, look it up. And then Carole Baskin. Well, so Carole Baskin, she got married, and then and then she fell out of love with her new husband or something, and I think she killed him, and then she like fed him to the cats or something, and then from this point, I think the federal government raided her and shut her down during the time of COVID stuff, and then I guess the lasting impression I got was that this would only happen to cat people.
That was recent. That president run had nothing to do with the original context of the story.
But
20 years ago.
where was he running for president from?
From jail, motherfucker. Because
From Florida.
Yeah, that's a recent.
Yep.
You were
Yes.
saying you were acting like this was 30 years ago when he was running. When you said they
No,
were
no,
married.
no.
First of all, they were never
No, this
fucking
is-
married.
All right, here.
They were never married.
Here, and the last thing I said was that this type of crazy ass thing would only happen to cat people.
That is now you're 100%
Yep.
correct, because that is a true statement.
Yep. Because the thing is, because in my mind, whenever I try to understand crazy stuff like this, the question I've started to always ask is, "Oh, do they have a cat?"
Well, Daniel has a cat.
And the answer is usually yes.
Is
But
Daniel crazy?
no. But this is the thing. If Daniel were to devote his life to cats the way that people like Joe Exotic and Carole Baskin devote their lives, then Daniel might have issues. But I can go ahead. I can tell you this. Daniel does have a cat. And that cat is one of the greatest cats I've ever met in my life. And you can vouch for that too.
True statements.
Yep.
True statements.
All right, so go ahead and correct me on my take
I'm gonna
regarding
let
Carole
Daniel take this
Baskin
one.
and Joe Exotic.
It's certainly more interesting than what actually happened.
A lot more. Your story was wild.
Your story was really wild, but Joe Exotic is a homosexual, so you got that part right.
I thought the two of them were happy. I thought they were like high school sweethearts or something like that.
No, so
right?
they both have big cat rescue. I say, because really all of these people that do this, the real victims on this are the cats that are being held hostage there. That's the real victims. in this situation, unfortunately, whether it's Joe or Carole or Doc Antle. That guy's a weirdo,
Which
too.
I think he just went to jail, didn't he?
He did go to jail.
Why did they put him in jail?
Dude, you can't write. You want good content? Go watch Tiger King, the documentary. In full disclosure, I actually, for a year, volunteered at Big Cat Rescue, so I actually know a lot of these people.
I remember that.
Firsthand. Like, I've met them, talked to them multiple times, and they are all fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah, and I guess Carole Baskin's ex-husband, the rumor was that and they didn't substantiate it, and she didn't get arrested for it, is that she murdered him, she locked him in with one of the tigers or the big cats, and they the cat killed her ex-husband, and they buried him somewhere. So that part was.
How do they explain Joe Exotic still being alive, though?
It's what? No, it's not
Joe Exotic is. Joe Exotic is a rival.
He had his own sanctuary.
But Joe Exotic is in Oklahoma, and Carole Baskin is in Tampa. So, and I guess they had a little rivalry because they would go after each other and battle. And I guess the whole Florida part that you might be talking about is that he came to Florida possibly because he was trying, and why he's in jail is that he attempted to kill Carole Baskin.
He hired an assassin.
He hired an assassin, and he was overseeing.
Like a bounty hunter?
Yeah.
No, not a bounty hunter, an assassin. They're completely different things.
What's the difference?
A bounty hunter goes and collects a bounty on someone that's broke like a law or something, or someone puts a stake on them. And it doesn't have to mean they die. Assassins kill people for money.
But a bounty hunter can go and kill somebody.
Not if they're supposed to be brought in alive, and it's usually for the law.
Do you think
There has to be a bounty on them.
did Joe what's his did Joe Exotic put a bounty on her head?
No.
Well, I understand what Shane's saying. I mean, are you sure that he didn't give money to this guy?
He did give money to that redneck guy.
So in a technicality, it would be a bounty, but in a sense, he is also an assassin. But how you would classify it is that he's an assassin. But I understand what Shane is trying to get to.
So like, all right, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around this whole thing right now. So Joe Exotic went into to like an inn, and there were a bunch of like elves and knights and dwarves and stuff in there, and Joe Exotic goes in and like he goes up to like some strider that's sitting in the corner that's like cloaked, and he gives the guy like a quest to go and kill Carole Baskin.
In the books, it doesn't really happen like that. You know that?
Well, what's the difference?
Because in the books, they do. In the movies,
instead of it being elves and dwarves, it's like midgets.
No, in the movies, they really stress like he's like real secretive on who he was, and he hasn't like you don't know he's the king, and he's like against it. In the books, that was already established. Everyone knew who Strider was. Like it wasn't a secret on who Strider was.
Are we talking about Joe Exotic?
No, Lord of the Rings, fucker.
Oh, okay.
What? You can't make a reference and then get confused when I talk about it.
No, because the thing is, like in Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, you can have a character like a Strider.
The point in the whole thing is you need to watch this because once again, you're just formulating whole fucking scenarios on about 40 minutes of research. So you need to go watch Tiger King.
I haven't done any research, man. This is just stuff. This is just like these are like rumors and opinions that I've heard from other people. These are like little bits and pieces. So what I'm revealing to you guys like the mosaic, the collage that I have in my mind when it comes to Carole Baskin, Joe Exotic, and like what like the most extreme cat people that I can.
I feel like this is how
imagine.
you go through life. You get about 30 minutes of knowledge in something, and then you just spitball.
So
how you feel about it.
So So when it comes to pop culture
Perfect
type of
politician.
stuff, no. This is the thing.
He
So
looks like a politician.
so when it comes to pop culture and stuff like that, that's kind of the way that it is because I don't pay attention to a lot of this kind of stuff.
No, I usually don't either. I agree with you on a lot of pop culture stuff, but I'm telling you, you could not write a better fictional story than this whole Tiger King thing. And I guess I'm more invested in it because I actually know some of the characters. Yeah. But I'm telling you, dude, the shit that happened, that really happened, you can't make up a better story.
And did you know that cats can get COVID?
Where the fuck are you going with that one? What do you want us to...
At the beginning of the whole COVID thing, the very first cat that tested positive for COVID was at the Bronx Zoo up in New York. This was in like April of 2020, like April or March of 2020. This is like right at the beginning of everything. Okay. And I wonder if the cats at these preserves ended up catching COVID.
To my knowledge, no cats got COVID, but I don't know.
The only way that you would know is if you went and tested them regularly.
They did. Big Cat Rescue actually was when it came to cat care, they're actually like top notch.
What type of swabs?
They're actually shutting down the sanctuary.
How do you test a cat for COVID? What like where do you swab them?
I was never there for that. I don't know. I have no idea. That's a good question.
Wait, so they're closing?
They're closing it. Yeah, Big Cat Rescue's closing.
That's the one in Florida, not the one in Oklahoma.
No, they're not.
There's not a big. Yeah, there's not a Carole Baskin thing in Oklahoma.
SeaWorld, dude. They don't just I can franchise out.
And the COVID test is the same place where they test you. They swab it up your ass.
Yeah.
That reminds me. Do you remember back during all the COVID stuff? The Chinese government said that they were going to start swabbing U.S. diplomats.
Anally.
Anally, using the rectal
no one
test.
talks about this, dude.
Yeah,
and I remember this like it was yesterday.
Yes,
the elites wanted to see how far. This is my conspiracy thing coming out. So the elites wanted to see how far they could push that stuff, and they're like, let's see if we can shove things in their ass. And everyone was like, as soon as it came out, it was out for like 2 days. They tried. And everyone was like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah, and people were like, "Nope, that's the red line."
That's it. We don't believe in COVID anymore.
Yep.
They're like, "Just kidding.
Yeah.
We're not putting anything in your ass."
Yeah, and then people are like, "Oh, okay,
Like,
good, all right, good." Yeah.
Yep.
Well, then, yeah, then after that, they started pushing the whole bug thing.
The bug thing?
Yeah, like where they want to try to make eating bugs look appetizing. That's when they were like,
this.
we talked about that a while ago. But like when they sent like Robert Downey Jr. and stuff to go on the Today Show to talk about,
I eat a bowl of crickets in the morning.
I'm
Iron Man.
Yeah, I start off every morning by eating a big old handful of crickets,
I'm Iron Man.
and I eat them and they chirp all the way down and I'm doing it for the planet, you know.
He's like the poster boy for that movement, dude.
Yeah.
He's like such a great actor. Not taking anything away from Robert Downey Jr. I absolutely love his acting. But it's just funny when you see these actors and they come out and they make their political statements because they have the platform to do so, right? They have such a big audience that consumes them. So when he comes out and he hits all the correct talking points.
Well, so the only thing I would disagree with you on is it's not surprising because think about what does an actor do? What is the job of an actor?
Oh yeah,
it's to convincingly deliver other people's words.
Hmm?
Team America.
Yeah.
F yeah. Oh, F yeah.
So do we have any last thoughts about? Truthfully, I still don't understand this whole Carole Baskin Joe Exotic thing.
To be fair, you weren't wrong either. I believe he did change the name to his sanctuary to Big Cat Rescue, and that's what started this. There's a defamation suit or like a copyright suit because he actually did change the same name, so he had to change it again, and that's where it started. And they got in like legalities and stuff, and she like financially crippled this guy several times. And he is. I'm not like defending Joe Exotic. They're all crazy.
They were never married.
Never married.
No, he's gay. No.
What we're gonna do is when we do part 2 of this, you're gonna commit to a Tiger King Cliff Notes version,
okay,
and you're gonna do season 1 of Rick and Morty, and then we're gonna come back and we'll hit both those points.
I may not do season 1, but at the very least with Rick and Morty, at the very least, I'll let you guys pick a handful of episodes for me to go and watch.
The first 3 episodes. I'm gonna pick 4 through 6, and then we'll go from there.
Well,
and then you'll finish the season because it's so good.
So again, I'll let you guys pick a handful of episodes. I'll watch them, and then I'll give my opinion on them.
4 through 6, yeah.
So all right, so do we have any last words on the whole Tiger King thing?
Rescue.
Wait, so why was that show not called the Tiger Queen? Because I'm assuming that
it's from Joe. It's mostly from Joe Exotic's. Like he's the main character in it, basically.
But wouldn't Joe Exotic identify as being a queen?
Well,
Good
episode 12
point.
is our last episode. Nice.
It was fun. I'm glad I got to be here.
Fun.
Yeah. No.
We're on Rumble.
Yeah.
Right, never mind.
Rumble.
Fuck
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah. No. I guess that's a legitimate question. So the thing is, do we know for a fact that Joe Exotic identified as a queen, as a king, and do we know for a fact that Carole Baskin?
He's not a transsexual, dude. He's just gay.
But you don't have to be a transsexual in this culture. You know, listen. I'm not as bathed and marinated in this culture as clearly as you guys are. Like you guys apparently watch Rick and Morty and Tiger King and all this other stuff and all this other stuff. Which I guess the stuff we're even talking about isn't really. I guess the stuff we're talking about was really big in like 2020, like at the cutting edge, but. I guess it just kind of goes to show how kind of outdated I am as far as pop culture and stuff goes.
In everything, the way you dress, the way you talk.
Not in everything.
Everything.
No. Just with this pop culture stuff.
You're like an encyclopedia, dude. Like you're like an Encyclopedia Britannica. Like you're on everyone's shelf, but literally you're dusty. No one picks you up.
And you know what?
Google in our phone.
Well. And you see, the thing is, you know.
Like, you got a lot of knowledge, but you just sit up on a fucking shelf and collect dust. You know what I mean?
I'm the same that I was yesterday,
and
the same that I am today,
tomorrow.
and the same that I'll be tomorrow.
Consistently boring.
Yep. Consistently fascinating.
All right.
You know, so all right, so do we do we have any last thoughts on the on the cat stuff or
what's
the
next on that, little piece of paper?
All right, so actually, here before we get to that, why don't we talk about what Daniel's got over here?
What's he got?
These are called Bucky. What are they called? They're from Bucky's, but what are they called?
Beaver nuggets.
What is that?
They're made out of don't they have like peanut butter in them or something? Or I think they're like 70% seed oils, but
eat one.
No, I'm not going to have any.
Brown sugar, cornmeal, corn syrup, vegetable oil, canola, and or corn oil.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Yeah.
Contains 2% or less of the following: salt, margarine, soybean oil, palm oil.
And they're called beaver nuts?
Beaver nuggets.
Nuggets.
Okay.
My dad calls them beaver nuts.
No, that makes sense. Bucky's is actually probably, and this is an opinion, this is actually fact. It is the greatest gas station ever.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Their beef brisket is amazing there.
Have you had the little fucking pulled pork sandwiches, dude?
Yes.
I every time I go there, I buy like 7 of them, and wherever I'm driving to on my long ass trips, I just eat them.
You just eat all 7 of them. Yeah.
Yep, along the way, and
Yep.
I'll just set them there, and for 3 hours later, I'll just pick one up and eat it. And I know that's probably like not healthy, but
2 burritos.
Yeah, two burritos. Count them. 2 burritos.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So and Bucky's is based in Texas, I think. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's where it's originally from. But those things are massive.
Yeah.
You know. So I was talking to my aunt and uncle the other day. They were I think they had gone to a Bucky's recently, and my uncle said that he had to leave the Bucky's. I guess he was inside, and he said that he couldn't find any spot in the Bucky's where he could just kind of like stand and wait for everybody.
No, it's slam packed.
Yeah, and it's because that place it's so full, and then they have like their coffee wall, they have all their soda fountains and everything. There isn't one spot in Bucky's where there aren't people where there's not traffic. You know, so
you can stand outside where they sell grills. No one's ever out there.
Well,
buying grills at gas stations.
he had to go back out and just stand next to the gas pump, because I think he said that was the only place where he wasn't in somebody's way.
Yeah.
And I told him, this might be just something weird about me, but I don't mind standing somewhere where I'm in someone's way. And in fact, half the time I don't even notice.
No, I know, because you're inconsiderate.
Yeah,
No, listen, no.
He's oblivious.
Yeah.
No, I'm very considerate, but the thing is, if I don't notice it, it's not called inconsiderate.
You don't even care enough to gander around.
It's called
You don't even give a
oblivious.
glance. Your preconceived notion, you're preconceived inconsiderate. Because you don't even give a fuck enough to look left, look right. You don't even look up. You just look straight on and walk.
Well, because a lot of the time, like if I'm at somewhere like Buc-ee's, I'm kind of having like a moment of zen there. I'm looking around. I'm looking at the beef brisket. I'm looking around at like the fudge counter. I'm looking around at the coffee stuff and everything, and I'm looking at the canoes. At the other side of the place. And I'm just thinking to myself, wow, this place. There's a lot of energy here. I'm really enjoying the moment. And if there's somebody that just keeps on bumping into me, I'm just enjoying the moment, just kind of looking around.
Yeah, no, I could see that. What, did you hit the one in Georgia on the way down?
No, I hit the one in St. Augustine.
Oh, there's one in Florida?
There's two in Florida.
Yeah, St. Augustine, and where's the other one?
Daytona Beach.
Okay.
On 95.
Shit, I will drive over there.
Hey,
We can make a trip to Buc-ee's.
Let's do a podcast on there sometime.
In the parking lot?
Yeah.
In the parking lot?
No, dude, not in the no. We're not animals. No. We'll do one inside where we will be in someone's way.
We won't even say anything to them. We'll just set up a table.
Yeah.
No one will even. I guarantee dude, I've learned one thing. If you have confidence, you just walk in and start doing it. I bet no one says anything.
That's right. Yeah. If you look like and you act like you belong there, then people will make room for you.
Just dress like that. And do your hair like that. And when people ask, because he's been off the air for a while, we'll just be like, "Oh, this is Tucker Carlson," and they'll just let us sit down.
Dude, I'm not gonna say that because the thing is, like, a lot of the people will be like, "Oh, it's not. Can I have your autograph or something?" And then there will end up being some wing nuts that'll be there that'll want to like deck me or something.
No, they don't go to Buc-ee's, dude.
Oh, because that's a Texas place.
It's a Texas place. They don't mess with
But then how do you explain all the Californians that are going to Texas?
They're trying to infiltrate it.
Oh, okay.
But they don't go to Buc-ee's.
But what if they're trying to infiltrate Buc-ee's?
They're not.
To try to take it over.
The one in fucking Daytona, Florida?
Yeah.
How would that make sense?
There was Daytona, and then what was the other one?
St. Augustine.
Okay, so they may not be trying to go after the Daytona one. They might be looking at that one and saying, you know what, that's going to be that's going to be phase 2.
Oh, phase 2, yeah.
Phase 1
St.
is St. Augustine.
I can see it.
If you go and do that show, you might want to invest in a lint roller.
Well, you see, it's like I told you before. The good thing is that the camera doesn't pick up lint.
Well, you'll be in front of people this time, so you might want to look good.
But you see, I'll be having a moment of zen there, so I won't even notice. I won't even notice them looking at me. Truthfully.
So the word's oblivious again.
Oblivious.
Oblivious.
So we unanimously agree that Buc-ee's is the greatest gas station.
Yeah. Oh, 110%.
We can put a check on Buc-ee's. That one.
So the thing is, I remember the first time that I saw a Wawa station. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking this is like I remember thinking like, how could a gas station get in any better than this?
To be fair, I said the same thing. I walked into Wawa's and I was like, this is the bee's knees. This is the apex of gas stations.
Then you go into a Buc-ee's.
Wawa's like, I want to take a shit in a
exactly,
Wawa.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing about Buc-ee's is
the toilets.
Yeah, they have a full-time employee devoted to keeping the bathrooms clean.
The guy just sits there with the toilet brush and waits on you.
It's the cleanest toilets ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an incredible place. So,
what a shitty job, just for the record.
But have you seen the signs out in the front?
They make like $30 an hour.
They make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say is they get paid very, very well at those at Buc-ee's.
Yeah, and this isn't California $30 an hour. This is the
South.
This is a South $30 an hour.
The dirty South.
The dirty South. Those fuckers are making bank.
So let's move on and start talking about something that we're in Florida, obviously. So, and not talking politics or anything, but, something that's very, we are very lucky to live in a place that we're very lucky to live in a state where we have somewhere like Walt Disney World.
It's not lucky. I pay to live here.
Okay.
I moved here on purpose.
Well, so in a sense, what you're saying is that you make your own luck, which is something that Julius Caesar said, who brought an end to the Roman Republic. So
that was all historically inaccurate.
No, that was 100% accurate.
He did not bring an end to the Roman Republic.
He brought an end to the Roman Republic when he declared himself a living god.
There was still a republic.
No,
there were senators.
No, it became an empire.
He did not.
When he marched his damn army across the Rubicon, and look,
himself a god.
Look, first of all,
that was voted on by the senators.
He forced the vote because he marched across the Rubicon.
Who
in the world would vote against?
Where were we going?
All right, here. The last thing I'm going to say is, who would vote against him? The man who marched his army into Rome. And took the place over in a coup, and then declared it. And then he forced the declaration of himself as a god. He ended the Roman Republic and began the Roman Empire. So,
and like everything else tonight, besides the Bucky segment, you're wrong.
I'm correct on this.
So let's move on.
Are you going to refute the fact that he marched across the Rubicon?
I'm not even going to acknowledge it. I'm not even going to acknowledge it.
And you know what? It's because you know that you're wrong. All right.
If we could, I would cut your mic right now because it's just everything you're saying is bullshit.
But you want to know something? You cutting my mic, it wouldn't change the fact that I'm right and that you're wrong.
Because then people won't have to hear you. They just see your horrible clothing choice. And then that's most people don't.
But listen again. You can sit here and you can try to dance around with all kinds of little words and insults and everything.
Is that what I'm doing?
But we stand. I'm standing on top of the mountain of truth here, and Nico, the truth will set you free. All right, Daniel. So Disney.
Yes.
So we are very lucky to live in a place so close to Walt Disney World, and it really is. It's one of a kind. It's very unique. It's it's 2 times the size of Manhattan. It's got nature preserves on it. They built out all of their own infrastructure. Like roads, water management, and everything. A lot of people don't realize that the Disney company manages. They have their own water treatment facilities. They generate their own power. I mean, it's a massive operation.
Yes.
So so what do you think about it?
It's brought me a lot of joy. Growing up all these years. Of course, being a pass holder, and we're not even going to segue into like the movies. We're just solely talking about the theme parks in this discussion. The theme parks I've been going to since I was a little kid. So it's brought a lot of memories and a lot of fun times with my family. So as a kid, I got to enjoy it. And my family were pass holders then. Then I got to enjoy it as a pass holder as an adult. So it's a lot of fun. And they have the 4 main theme parks: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. And that is the order that they opened here. Then they have the 2 water parks, Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. They have Disney Springs. I know a lot of people will still call it Downtown Disney.
I still call it that.
Downtown Disney, yeah.
Yeah.
But Disney Springs is still there. It's a city all in its own, but when it came in, when it first started in California, of course, with Disneyland, but when they needed to expand their vision, they needed more land, and Florida was a blank canvas for them to do that. So they went under a a fake name company to buy up the land so they could buy the land as cheap as they could.
This is in the late 60s?
Mid 60s, what was when they were acquiring the land. Because Walt Disney died in 66, I think.
Something, yes.
Yeah.
So, and then the word got out that Disney was the person that was buying the land, and that last bit of land was jacked up considerably in price. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is most of the land was bought at a considerably cheap price.
This is all swampland, right?
But it was swampland, and that was the issue, was all the money that was needing to be spent to
cultivate it.
Yeah, and that's why they have to fumigate it.
For mosquitoes?
Yes, from mosquitoes, because it's still a swampland no matter what. So they have to spray that insecticide.
Well, and I do know I read something a while ago that one of the things that they do, they don't just spray for mosquitoes, which is obviously, I mean, that's obviously a very big part of managing mosquitoes, especially during the summertime in Florida. But they pay very close attention to keeping the populations of particular types of fish high. And the reason is that there are a lot of different types of fish and that eat the baby mosquito larvae that are born in water. So that's one of the reasons that mosquitoes typically do not. It's really hard for mosquito populations to be very high where you have flowing water, because mosquitoes need water that is stagnant. Mm-hmm. So that they can, like, I don't know if I'm assuming they lay eggs and stuff. I don't think they give live birth. But I think that they just lay a bunch of eggs in a.
40 minute of research you get on mosquitoes. I'm surprised you didn't uncover that. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this: I've researched this a lot more than I did Rick and Morty. But
it shows.
Yeah. But I do know one of the things that they do is they try to make sure that the fish populations are high. So that whenever those fish are swimming around in the swamps and they identify the mosquito larvae, then they're able to eat a nice big meal,
Yes.
And that's one of the best things that they can do, in addition to the spraying and all that stuff.
And that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of times you don't go like hitting yourself for mosquitoes. It's quite an amazing thing. You won't get a lot of mosquitoes on Disney property because of the research, and that's something that Disney has done a lot for the most part, and a lot of things that they do. But aside from political stuff and stuff, they do for the most part a lot of studies in what they do.
Well, and that's the remarkable thing is it's really interesting. If people have never done it before, I'd recommend that they do it. Just Google a map of the Disney property, and it's remarkable how much of it is water. And then to your point, how rare it is, during the summertime to get bit by a mosquito on that property. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, obviously it happens.
I can attest to that. The mosquito population is very small on Disney property. And it is pretty much just a big swamp. So
yeah,
that's amazing.
So something that I have always respected about Walt Disney World in particular was the original vision of Walt Disney. Mm-hmm. The fact that his
original Epcot.
The fact that his original vision, he intended on building an East Coast Disneyland, there as a place that. As a theme park to kind of anchor it, but he originally envisioned it to be so much more.
Oh, the original Epcot.
He envisioned it to really be a testing ground for things that today we would call green energy. He intended for it to be a place where they could experiment with different types of urban design. Where
those people that come and work from those other countries, they still do it for like 6 months to a year.
Yeah,
I actually know a lot of them. They cycle, but I mean, I get the opportunity to meet a lot of them. But they were supposed to live there and it was supposed to be like experts in actual fields, not like
Yeah.
college students coming to work, a year abroad. It was supposed to be like the top scientists, the top medical people, the top, philosophers and thinkers, and and they were supposed to come over here and live in their section of the world, and there's supposed to be a whole underground system for commuting. And dude, it was beautiful, the original design. You can go on Google and look at it, and if he was alive today, to see the shell that it is. And by the way, just to admit, I'm not a big Disney guy. I like the Walt Disney, and I like the concept, and I like the man. I don't like any of the parks besides Epcot. And with saying that, it's a shell of what it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I do enjoy Epcot because it's the only place that you can go, and you can experience those. You can actually talk to people from those cultures and those countries. You could try food from those cultures and the countries. A lot of it's imported stuff. Disney does a good job of that. And you can drink, authentic, spirits from those places, if you will. So I do like that whole thing. I love Epcot.
But there's a statement I really wanted to go on that you said. You mentioned about if he was alive kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
First off, he would be like 100 something right now. If
Yeah,
he
like
was,
115 or 120, I
if
think.
he was actually alive, so there's no shot at that.
Well, he'd be a robot with a head.
Alien.
Yeah.
Alien! If anybody gets that reference from Robot Chicken.
but the main thing is a lot of Disney fans says, oh well, if Walt Disney would see what happened to his creation, they would roll over his grave. But really what it came down to, unfortunately, is the dude died of cancer. He died of cancer. So, what if he got cancer and he made it another 10 years? Would that Epcot vision? Would we see a different vision like we did? Because what you were talking about, for instance. It didn't happen because he had the idea, like on the show, he introduced this idea for Epcot, and he introduced it, and there was this great vision for it to be a utopia of knowledge and innovation, and for where the cast members were going to live at, a kind of place like that. If he somehow made it for, let's say, 10 years, do you think Disney would look different? Or do you think that eventually it would have happened in the way that it happened now?
Disney would definitely look different for those next 10 years. I mean, we know historically that guy was a ball buster, and he never settled with second best or we can't do it. Like that guy didn't know how to accept defeat or no. And for all intents and purposes, I would say he was pretty much a very modern day. He would not go along with the politics of the time. Let's just put it that way. So if he made it 10 more years and he saw that ground was broken at Epcot, and when did Epcot actually open its doors?
Oh, that was in the 80s, wasn't it? Like the early 80s.
1981.
So he would have made it anyways.
Yeah.
He would have died before that even. He would have died in the 70s. When did he die?
66, I think.
66. He would have died in 76. So, no, it might not have made a difference.
So I think it would have made a big difference. And the reason is if you look at kind of Walt Disney's the last 10 years of his life, he was there were a lot of things that made him a very unique individual. But one of those things, if you go and look at the New York World's Fair, which was in the early 60s, Walt Disney was one of the few people that was kind of universally trusted by all the leaders in American industry. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons that Walt Disney was hired to design and implement like 4 or 5 of the pavilions at the New York World's Fair, which means that he dominated the place. And And what I would say is that the amount of trust that leaders in American industry had in him, that gave him the unique ability that no one else had in America to bring them together and to sell these leaders of industry on a vision. I think he is the kind of guy that could have said, this is our vision for Epcot, like let's say transportation, for example. He would have been able to go to like the CEO and the board of like General Motors and Ford and say, okay, so my vision of Epcot is we're going to rethink transportation. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow cars and stuff, but we're going to create a brand new mass transit system, and we would love for you to be a part of it.
And they would have jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah, and they would have jumped at the opportunity, and that's because Walt Disney was one of those guys that they all universally trusted him. And it would have been the same thing, let's say with companies like General Electric, that Disney had a great relationship with, electrical companies, Westinghouse and stuff. If he were to go to them and say, look, there's this brand new technology, we call it solar, generating electricity using solar panels, converting sunlight into electricity. This is something brand new, and we'd like to start experimenting with it and start using we would like to start generating electricity for Epcot, for the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. We would like to start generating electricity from sunlight. And saying, look, there's this technology here, this research here. We'd like to put it all together, and this would be an opportunity for you to showcase your company. And for you to develop a brand new technology. The thing is, there's really nobody like that today. And there really hasn't been anybody like that since Walt Disney.
What?
Yeah. Believe it or not, Nico.
You wouldn't say Elon Musk is like that?
No, and the reason I would say that Elon Musk is not like that is that Elon Musk is one of those leaders of industry. And Walt Disney was not. What Walt Disney was the big idea guy. Walt Disney was the guy that could put together the big idea and get everyone else to buy into it. And Walt Disney was the guy that could say, okay, my ideas for transportation are X, Y, and Z. Ford and General Motors, I'd love for you to be a part of this. For energy, going to Westinghouse and going to GE and saying, I'd love for you guys to do this. But Walt Disney was the guy with the plan, with the vision that brought all of these industries together. And with Elon Musk, I would definitely say space travel, electric vehicles, and also too with social media, that Elon Musk
But he's trying to do the transit system as well.
Yes.
And he's also trying to power the whole country on electric energy.
But the thing I would say about
changed the way that we literally pay. I mean, he invested in PayPal. That was a big thing on him. He saw the vision there. I would say he's definitely a visionary as well, though. But I get what you're saying. You're saying Disney was more of the vision guy. He made the connections to get the best and brightest minds. He probably would have employed, granted, if he was around today, like we said, he'd be 100. He probably would have employed Elon Musk in a lot of these endeavors. You're saying that he got the guys, the titans of those industries, and he brought them together to implement them into Disney. So I guess the main difference that I would say is that someone like Elon Musk, it's very clear what his personal interests are, because he owns SpaceX, he owns Tesla, so he has a dog in the fight as far as different forms of technology go. Walt Disney's dog in the fight, what Walt Disney's bet was on, was on one vision that would bring everyone together, that would bring everyone universally together. Walt Disney, Everyone.
Well, by everyone, by everyone, I guess what I mean are leaders of industry,
Okay.
and like the big American enterprises. So I think the reason that they could look at him and universally trust him was that they didn't view him as being biased in favor of any one of them over the other. And with Elon Musk,
He owned an entertainment company.
he owned an entertainment company, yes, but the thing is, an entertainment company is not really, it's not a technology company.
That's what I'm saying. That's all he was. He was
Right.
an entertainment guy.
What was an entertainment guy, and really at the end of the day, a big idea guy.
That's it.
You know?
He drew a fucking mouse.
Right. And then he wasn't even drawing the mouse for like the last 2 or 3 decades.
Draw the mouse.
Yeah, he had to have his animators show him
How to draw it. Yeah.
how to draw the mouse so that he could go and try to make it look like he could draw the mouse on live
Correct.
TV. But the thing is, with someone like Elon Musk, and I think that's the reason that Elon Musk is so polarizing, is that Musk is down in the weeds of business and industry, and is down in the weeds of what's happening, of issuing his opinions about what's happening in the culture, and what his opinions are about how to move forward with this thing and with this thing. But with Walt Disney, what his opinion was, and of course I'm talking in regards to that later part of his life, his opinion was the vision of Epcot. And it really wouldn't have been biased in favor of any one industry over the other. It would have been about bringing the vision into fruition. And I guess nobody would view Walt Disney as being a competitor, except for movie studios, which
In communism.
right, yeah, movie studios and communism, which at that time, American industry would also view,
Yeah.
communism as being an enemy,
Yeah,
and
he
then
wasn't very inclusive
Yeah.
for the commies.
right.
Yeah.
But so what do you think about that?
Well, speaking of Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie trademark's going to be lost next year.
Wow.
That's a big one. So that means
Yeah, but Mickey Mouse is still the trademark, right? You can't lose.
the Steamboat Willie one specifically. So
Was it 75 years after an artist's death?
Yeah, 75 years after the death of the artist, I think.
And Disney was a big pusher of that, right? Because that wasn't even true a long time ago. Was
Well,
it?
yeah. Well, a lot of the modern copyright and trademark laws,
All Disney, right?
they usually call them like the Disney law or the Disney Act.
Okay, so they're going to lose Steamboat Willie, but
but that's going to be a big one because Disney has tried to protect any image of Mickey Mouse for so long. So now anybody can mock or do anything
to Steamboat Willie.
to Steamboat Willie.
Did he even have like overalls in that?
I think so.
Did he have the gloves yet?
I
don't
think so.
Did he have the gloves in Steamboat Willie? I don't think so. Steamboat Willie's old, man. It's old as balls.
Well, yeah, it was in the 20s.
Here, let me see.
Yeah, I just don't think like Steamboat Willie. Is that really a big deal? Like, what are people going to do with that?
Oh, no gloves.
Yeah, no, I know. I just waiting for you guys to catch up. Yeah, I know.
But but it's just like, but it kind of is because for the Disney company, because they, like I said, like for instance, they just made a horror movie after
Winnie the Pooh,
Winnie
yeah.
the Pooh, but that's nothing compared to like we just said with Walt Disney. What did he say Disney started? It started with a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing, Mickey has always been Disney. He's always been the story of Disney. He's always been the big part of Disney. And if that image gets tarnished, that's a big deal to Disney. So yeah, it is a big deal to the company.
Yeah.
Well, here. In fact, I just pulled up a quote from Walt Disney introducing the concept of Epcot. I'll go ahead and read this. This will kind of frame it. So that's what Epcot is: an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming. It will never cease to be a living blueprint of the future, where people actually live a life they can't find anywhere else in the world. Everything in Epcot will be dedicated to the happiness of the people who live, work, and play here. and to those who come here from all around the world to visit our living showcase. We don't presume to know all the answers. In fact, we're counting on the cooperation of American industry to provide their best thinking during the planning and creation of our experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And so right there,
That's not what we got.
right? Yeah, that is not because the thing that we got was a sprawling tourist destination.
Yeah, I just go to drink around the world.
Yeah,
It's basically a giant bar.
but what it originally was supposed to be was a place where American industry could come together and develop brand new technologies. I think it is fascinating to think about what would have happened if Walt Disney would have survived, would have lived another 10 years or even another 5 years.
That's the thing is, what if he would have made it? And the bigger issue and why none of this was implemented is because there was not like a contingency plan. This was all on Walt. Like, Walt laid down the image. The whole image was in Walt's head. It wasn't like Walt said, "Hey, I'm about to die. I'm going to tell you all the plans. Write it down." They didn't have a freaking clue what to do after he died.
That's because, like Shane said, he was an ideas guy. He was not a businessman. He was a shit businessman.
Absolutely.
And I know that sounds counterproductive, but if it wasn't for his brother, none of this happens.
That's right.
That's correct. That's exactly correct, and that's why they were great partners.
Mm-hmm.
And Roy did the best he could to get Magic Kingdom open, and he got Magic Kingdom open, and then he died shortly after Magic Kingdom opened.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't even see Epcot.
And that happened in the late 70s?
1971, I think.
Oh, early 70s.
I think
okay.
Magic Kingdom opened in 1971.
Magic Kingdom opened in 1971.
It was actually a very fast construction project, but it's really interesting. So the Disney company hired. I think it's one of the biggest construction projects ever done in the history of the United States. They hired one of the guys that oversaw a big part of the project was that Admiral Joe something.
I don't know about
So
that.
he was an admiral or a colonel, and oversaw the construction of the Panama Canal. That guy was still alive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so the Disney company, they hired him to be one of the head guys overseeing the entire project. And the reason they wanted him was when they were constructing the Panama Canal, they had to deal with swamps that were full of mosquitoes, and they had to deal with moving massive amounts of land. Digging massive trenches, creating lakes, creating artificial mountains and stuff.
And they wanted to build the underground tunnel.
Yeah.
Why did you make that sound like it was so long after? You're like, oh, he was still alive at the time.
Because the Panama Canal was built in like the early 20th century, like 60 something years prior.
Yeah, but he was probably the overseer when they revamped it, dude. Like, my grandfather worked on the Panama Canal, and he died in 97.
Well, how old was your grandfather when he passed away?
He was in his 70s. I think he was 77.
What was he, a baby whenever he was working on the Panama Canal? What did they just give him, a cigarette and a shovel and just say
I
go
don't
do
think
it?
you realize how long they worked on the Panama Canal, and then they had to revamp it again in the early 2000s.
Here, Admiral Joe Fowler.
And when did he work on the canal?
Oh, and that makes sense why they named one of the boats.
Yeah.
Fowler.
They named one of the ferry boats
When
after
was he
him.
working on the canal? Why don't you Google that?
Okay.
And then Daniel and I will keep talking. So, to answer your question, yes, I think it would be vastly different because I think Disney had his vision, and like I said, I don't think that's a guy that ever. He was a very tight grip on what he wanted Disney to be. What did you find it?
It began in 1904 and construction was finished in 1914.
1914, and that's when he worked on it.
Yeah, Joe Fowler.
How old was he then? Was he a baby when he was working on it?
He was probably an old man and died like right after the construction of Walt Disney World, like Roy Disney. Because like Roy Disney, basically he gave the inaugural address in front of Cinderella Castle, and then he died like right there, like right after.
He didn't literally.
Well,
die.
he didn't literally die right there at the castle. I think he died outside of the park.
He was working on it in the early 1900s. You're sure it wasn't later?
I'm sure.
I would like to fact check.
Define
that.
for me early 1900s.
No, he was there.
1904 to 1914 is when the Panama Canal was being constructed and built. Yes,
he was the guy.
Admirable Admiral Joe Fowler. Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, sounds like fucking bullshit. But.
Yeah. So and that's the thing that I think Walt Disney represented. In many ways, the structure of companies in America and in the West, we look back at the concept of monarchy, and we look back at it and we just laugh. We're like, oh, that's so backwards. Oh, we've moved on so much. But in reality, companies in many ways are like little monarchies. Like the founder, the owner, the leader of a company is very much like a feudal king. Yeah, it's like a little fiefdom. And when you're looking at like Disney, at Walt Disney, he was the unquestioned king of the Walt Disney Company. Then when he died, they had a really hard time because their king died. Their king was gone. Mm-hmm. And then they ended up finding their way again in like the 80s and 90s, and they became the behemoth that they are today. But the thing is, still, they lost their, and really when you think about what a king is in terms of like a fiefdom or in terms of a monarchy or something, the king is the one that is kind of above everyone else. The king is not supposed to be interested in one thing over another thing. Now that may not pan out. Like the king may definitely have an interest in this thing over the other thing, but a good king will at least not make that apparent. The king is kind of like, the king is like the principle that unifies everyone together. And I think in terms of thinking about American nobility and American royalty and stuff, definitely the Kennedys. But I think in many ways Walt Disney represents one of the closest things to what America will ever have experienced in terms of having our own nobility. And the reason I say that is that Walt Disney was one of those people that universally was trusted, and was viewed as being above the fray. Yeah, what was kind of viewed as being above competition. Now the competing studio bosses in Hollywood probably did not view him that way. They just viewed him as being another competitor. But the rest of the country, like the overwhelming majority of the country, they viewed that guy, Walt Disney, as being above the fray. And one of the things that made him so unique was that every Sunday night or every Sunday or Saturday night came on Walt Disney Presents, and he was live on television, and into everyone's home. And that was a very, very unique thing that we may never experience again in America, because you only had like 3 channels, at that time.
Mm-hmm. No, I do agree with you. I think that Walt Disney was in the exact right place, born at the right time, mm-hmm. in the exact thing. Because, first of all, there's several times you could do this with any industry and any person of great importance. You can follow their life story, and you can see these things. If Disney was alive today, he would not be a popular man.
No,
not in modern morals.
No.
A matter of fact, Disney's done a fantastic job at safeguarding the actual man, because in our country right now, without getting into politics, I mean, we're crucifying founding fathers for certain things. Disney would not age well if Disney has not done such a good job at protecting his reputation. He would not be favorable in today's social climate. And with that, even little things like Disney getting Pixar from not Bill Gates.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. If Disney doesn't get that and it doesn't work out like that, and we don't have that Pixar boom, I don't know if Disney survives after the 90s. I know they came back up, but they were hurting. Disney, they came out with those animations. So they took that big boom after like Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, all that stuff, and then they went right into Pixar. If that doesn't happen and they stay with that same kind of animation and they don't let Steve Jobs take that and kind of scoot out there, think about it. Dude, kids aren't watching that old animation style. When was the last time you had that kind of with...
A lot of people say that Tarzan was the last of the Disney Renaissance of the 90s
of that kind of animation.
Yeah.
Of that animation.
Well, and you know, talking about like the 80s and 90s, it's really interesting because you know Disney the company kind of went into a period of wandering after Walt died, where
almost looking for an identity.
Right. Well. In fact, a lot of Disney executives would say that at the board meetings, they would just sit around at the board meeting and ask, "What would Walt do?" You know, and it was really tragic. You know, they were, and then there were a couple of attempted hostile takeover attempts in the 80s, and Disney ended up hiring on this kind of this little known executive from the Paramount studio named Michael Eisner. Mm-hmm. And Michael Eisner was able to attract some really good executives to Disney. One of them being a guy named Frank Wells, and then another one later on named Jeffrey Katzenberg. And Jeffrey Katzenberg kind of led the whole Disney Renaissance during the 90s. Frank Wells and Michael Eisner both they complemented one another because Michael Eisner has a reputation for kind of being an asshole, and Frank Wells was a peacemaker. And this, you know, and Michael Eisner was the more creative one. Frank Wells was more analytical and more of an accounting guy, like a business guy and everything. So the two of them, not only did their strengths and weaknesses counterbalance one another, but their personalities counterbalanced one another very, very well. Well, in the mid to late 90s, I don't remember when it was, Frank Wells actually died in a plane crash unexpectedly.
It probably wasn't planned. Yeah.
No, it definitely was not planned.
Most plane crashes usually are unexpected.
Yeah, or at least the general consensus is that it was not a planned plane crash.
Yeah.
So when he died, it spelled a lot of trouble for Disney because Michael Eisner went kind of unhinged and unchecked.
That was the ball buster.
Yeah. And then you had Jeffrey Katzenberg. Who was really good as long as he was being kept in check. But when you didn't have this peacemaker, this analytical peacemaker, Frank Wells there kind of in the middle to keep all these personalities in check, they had a lot of trouble, you know, into the early 2000s. And that's when they ended up buying Pixar. It was shortly after that.
Yeah.
And then Bob Iger stepped in. And Bob Iger has been very good for Disney. Mm-hmm. You know, because Bob Iger has been one of those guys who overall has kind of said, look, I'm going to kind of be above the fray.
Well, let's fix a few things on that one. Kind of. Iger, the biggest acquisition that Disney made was getting ABC. Mm. Who came over from that acquisition was Bob Iger.
Oh, from ABC?
From ABC, yeah. Bob Iger.
That was like in 94, I think, or 93?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. So Iger worked his way up from ABC into Disney. And yeah, then, like you said, Iger, after Eisner stepped away, eventually moved up. Yeah, the Pixar movies did help, of course. But Disney became a conglomerate when you control the media, you change the game. When you control the narrative, when you control the news, mm-hmm. you control everything.
Well, and Disney bought ESPN. Oh, well, that came with ABC, didn't it?
That's correct.
And they ended up, I think in the 80s, they founded Touchstone Studio, which they used to release like the movies that had Eddie Murphy in them.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, those were made by Disney under the name Touchstone.
Huge franchise.
Yeah, and also two television shows and everything.
So I mean, Iger has been part of the biggest growth in Disney's history.
Yeah.
They have become a conglomerate.
But the only thing I'll say is this, is that when Walt Disney was still living, Disney was not creative by acquisition. Yeah, Disney was
right.
They were creating their own unique characters. 100% of what they made their money on.
Correct.
There were stories that they created themselves.
Those were not unique characters.
Well, right, but they were unique adaptations to film to the animated.
I'll take that. I was going to say most of those
to the animated form.
Yeah,
that had never been. That had never been translated to the animated form before.
He made a rabbit and a fucking mouse. And then
right, but also too, in all fairness, if you look at like Snow White, you look at Cinderella and stuff, predominantly the only thing that those stories have in common,
Alice in Wonderland, all of them.
Well, predominantly the only thing those have in common with the original stories are like the character names and some of the place names. Other than that, they were completely unique stories. Kind of like created from scratch.
But you're acting like these were huge concept things back then. These weren't huge conceptual stories. They were very simple stories.
Well, they're fairy tales.
Yeah, exactly.
They were they were fairy
it was
tales.
A very simple theme to follow along to. They weren't complex themes back then.
Yes, but the thing is, you still you can come up with a story that will not that won't tug at someone. You can come up with a story that's not going to be memorable. That's 99% of stories out there. That's the reason that you can go to a bookstore or you can go look on Amazon in the fiction section, and you'll end up seeing a whole buttload of books that nobody's ever going to know the name of. Mm-hmm. They're never going to be notable. Now, what Walt Disney had a sense for was ultimately what the public wanted, and things that the public would ultimately have an appetite for, and also to how to frame things to make the stories, to frame the stories in such a way that they would really appeal to people and speak to people on a very universal level. Walt Disney said, I'm trying to think what he said. He said, the universal thing is that every child is a child and every adult has a child inside of them. And so what he would do is strip the stories down to the
so naughty.
Well, it's something here. I can look up the exact quote in a minute, but what he would do is
that's also modern Disney's philosophy as well.
Well, let's not get into politics, but the thing is, what he would do is get the story down to the most basic human level possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would speak to people at a level that would speak to people at a level beyond words. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons that you can take a movie like Snow White, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, and they're just as relevant now as they were when they were released. You can take a movie like Shrek. I don't know if you've tried to watch Shrek recently, but that movie was a big hit back when it came out, but it's not really very relevant today because it requires that you're plugged into the time period that it was released in.
Alice in Wonderland lost money. It was a bomb.
It did. Yes, it did at first, but remember, one of the things that Walt Disney always said was the quality will win out. That even if the movie does not do well in the moment, that intellectual property, those characters in that story will end up driving profits over time. You know, and that was one of the big innovations that Disney made too was, and I think this was largely his brother Roy licensing out the character images to like toy companies and stuff like that. But I guess the thing I'm trying to say is that if you look at the Disney version of Cinderella or Alice in Wonderland or Snow White, they're radically different from what the original fairy tale was, you know, and Pinocchio and stuff like that.
Lewis Carroll's,
but
book's
they're
completely different.
they're really totally different stories, but the thing is, like more than 90% of these stories are.
Lewis Carroll did Alice in Wonderland?
Lewis Carroll did Alice in Wonderland, but the thing is, if you go and look at these stories and you compare them to the original fairy tale, more than 90% of it is completely new. You know, it's completely different from the original. It was a creation from the storyboards at the Walt Disney Studios. You know, and that is just a testament to how savvy Walt Disney was as far as story goes, and not just story, but what people will find appealing. Really, I guess I think you kind of start to get into philosophy at that point. You know, and Walt Disney really understood the inner workings of people. That's the reason he was able to craft stories.
That was DreamWorks, so that wasn't even Disney, right?
Right.
Okay, so you just picked a modern cartoon. Let me ask you a question. On cultural relevance, do you think, let's pick Fox and the Hound. You think Fox and the Hound, that's old enough, right? We all saw it as kids. You think Fox and the Hound will have the same pulling power in 50 years as Toy Story?
So true. It's been a long time since I've seen Fox and the Hound, but I would venture to guess if you were to sit and watch Fox and the Hound today, it would probably still impact you. It would have a pretty big impact on you. Or you would look back at watching it and you would think that was a really good movie. That had a big impact on me.
You don't think that's true with Toy Story?
Oh, I think that's true with Toy Story 2.
The second Toy Story, or also Toy Story 1?
Oh no, sorry, Toy Story 1. And
Okay.
and listen, if we're being honest here, I haven't seen any.
We know you haven't.
So I haven't seen Toy Story 2 on
3, 4.
No, yeah.
What's your opinion on that, Daniel?
It should have ended at Toy Story 3.
Fair.
Well,
So fucking came out swinging.
well, all I can say is you're a lot more charitable than I am. Because I haven't even seen 2, 3, and 4 of Toy Story. I just think they should have ended.
Yeah.
I think they just should have ended at 1.
Toy Story 3 was perfect because it ended the arc with Andy.
Going to college, right?
He went to college. It was the perfect tribute. He passed the toy. The toy's off to another child. It was the perfect way to end it. But Disney got greedy and decided, let's make more movies.
Common theme in Disney today.
And they're making another one, I believe.
They're making a Toy Story 5?
Yep.
So what's this going to be? Passing the toy on to Andy's grandkid? Is that?
No, they passed it on to a random girl named Bonnie.
Who the hell is Bonnie?
Just
a
random girl that was in the daycare, I guess.
Is Bonnie one of Andy's kids or something? Or
no?
I have an interesting fact for you guys.
What?
Because we're talking about passing it on. If you watch the first Toy Story, Andy's running around with Woody, playing with him. Remember how it starts? Andy's hat's red. It's not brown like Woody's hat. And the reason for that
why?
is because that hat belonged to his mom, which is the same hat with a character that wasn't even made yet. Jessie from the second one, the cowgirl, almost a cowboy.
Oh.
It's her hat. It's his mom's hat. The mom gave him the hat. Jessie was the original owner of that doll. The mom was the original owner of Jessie.
Yes, correct.
Disney came out and released that.
And Jessie's the female
Now
Woody?
that's what I'm talking about. When you talk, she's not the female Woody.
or like the
well,
no. She's the cowgirl toy.
she's the cowgirl toy.
So I've never seen Toy Story 2 or 3 or whatever.
How ingenious of Disney, because that movie came out in what, 1995, the original Toy Story, mid 90s, right?
Yeah.
They already had Toy Story 2 planned out in the works. It wasn't even his hat. It wasn't Woody's hat. He just had a red cowboy hat.
Yes.
And it was modeled after Jesse's hat. Now, I'm sure that was afterwards, but Disney does a lot of Easter eggs and creative stuff. Like the first, I believe, and don't quote me, I believe the very first Pixar film that was being worked on wasn't the first to come out. I believe A Bug's Life was the first one worked on, correct?
Yes.
But the first one released was Toy Story, I think. And then A Bug's Life came out afterwards.
I think you're right.
Even they were working on A
Dana?
Bug's Life
Yes.
for like 3 years before Toy Story even
Yes.
came out,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think of.
In fact, I think I remember seeing a documentary where John Lasseter, the main animator at Pixar, kind of like the Walt Disney figure at Pixar, and I think I remember him saying that animating bugs was more difficult than animating toys.
Yes,
And so the reason,
Daniel has it.
yeah,
Toy Story was first in 95. Bug's Life was second in 98. Toy Story 2 in 99.
There
okay.
you go. That makes sense. Even they were working on A Bug's Life first. It was supposed to be the launch for Pixar, was Bug's Life. And it took that long to finish it. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that to me that's the difference between the well done Disney animated movies versus animated movies from that have come out from other studios, is that the Disney ones are as it's like it's getting down to those core principles of what it means to be a human being, which are usually the words that we use to define relationships, like mother or father, child or hero, and thing.
Yeah.
It's getting down to those core principles. It's stripping everything down. Another Lion King is one of my favorites. And then you've also got another really good one is Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I will say this. I want to make 2 points. I don't like, and I want your guys' opinion. I'm going to start with Daniel. I don't like the trajectory. I do not enjoy. I've seen several of them. I do not enjoy these live action remakes. They're horrible. There's more mosquitoes in this room than are at Disney property.
Yeah.
And there's only one in here.
That's
He's
because
just flying around.
that's because we need to get more fish in here.
Yeah, that's right. Do you guys enjoy? I'm just talking sitting down watching them face value without getting into anything else. I don't enjoy these live remakes. I thought the best one I've seen so far was the Beauty and the Beast one.
I thought that was horrible.
See? And I agree. I thought it was bad. And that's the one I've enjoyed the most. I've watched that one. I watched the I haven't seen Little Mermaid one. I saw the I think they did did they do the Cinderella one?
The Cinderella. They did Aladdin.
Aladdin. I saw they're horrible. And it's the same stories. For the most part.
Well, and it's funny because they call them live action, but the majority of them are they're animated. It's CGI. But yeah, Daniel. So what do you think?
The trajectory on which they're going with this?
I mean, the purpose of it is to keep
Relevance.
the IP and the trademark.
Is that why they're doing it?
I'm pretty sure that's why.
Well, at that point, why wouldn't you just tweak the original and then just re-release it?
Because it's a modern audience.
Yeah.
Kids don't like that animation style, man. I know you don't know pop culture, and you're probably going to go do like 40 minutes of research on this.
No.
But kids don't care about those movies. It's not like when we grew up. We have kids now, so we're showing them those movies, and it's fine when they're young, but when they turn 6, 7, 8, they think those movies are garbage, dude. They don't enjoy them. So it's not like you got to remember when we grew up, we would watch those movies from the 60s and 70s. It's not the same for kids now because they have technology. We grew up when technology was just starting to really boom right out of the 80s with like the visual effect side of it. people were playing Pong. We weren't playing Pong. We grew up on PlayStation. Came out 96. I remember getting one. It might have came out before then. I'm just picking that year, right? Like it was just totally different, dude. We're not watching 20-year-old movies. Like, we grew up on movies from the 70s and 80s and loved them. Kids nowadays won't watch movies from the 90s, and that would be equivalent to what we were doing.
Well, so this is actually what I would push back on that a little bit. That kids today will watch Disney movies that are from the 90s.
They do.
And the reason that I would say that they do is because the stories are so good that that it doesn't matter the medium that they're being delivered from. It doesn't matter that it's like that it's old school animation. And actually, if you
at a younger age.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. It's the story that's memorable to people. It's not the form of animation or like the special effects that the movie had. If that were the case, a movie like Waterworld would be, looked back on today as being one of the greatest movies ever made because there were so many special effects in that movie. But
but that's not true, dude. Because modern people, they love the Transformer movies. No one, I promise you, no one today is watching the Transformers cartoon like we did. 0 kids are watching that cartoon from the 80s. And it was a great story.
It was a great story, but the thing is, there is something about Disney movies, though, about well-done Disney movies that get down to some universal principles that are common among all people. And that is why those Disney movies are so relevant just around the world. And things like the Transformers cartoons, the Transformers movies and things, they're relevant to a certain place and time. Mm-hmm. But then the further away you get from that place and time, they become less and less and less relevant.
Okay, what's your opinion on that, Daniel?
Oh, one more time.
The relevance of the old Disney movies versus basically the new animation style. He's saying that the stories were so memorable, so not emotional. How would you say it? They
speak so closely and simply to our human nature. Mm-hmm. To what, like, I'll give you an example. Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. Pinocchio is an animated movie, which means it's basically thousands of little drawn images per minute that are all animated together about.
They redid Pinocchio. That's another one. Horrible.
But it's it's an animated movie about a puppet. So and the thing is, like, that is something, but that movie it's crafted in such a way, the story is so powerfully that it speaks to the question of what does it mean to be a human? And also too, what does it mean to lose your humanity? You think about like Pleasure Island in the Pinocchio movie. How the boys would go to Pleasure Island and then they would eventually become donkeys. Mm-hmm. Which the whole message is: you start acting like an animal, then you become an animal for all intents and purposes, and then you will be exploited. It's a morality tale in many ways. But the thing is, the Disney movies are really like modern day fairy tales. The fairy tales are still with us. And the reason that they're still with us is because those fairy tales, as gruesome as some of them may be, they speak to our position as humans. Okay. They speak to our human condition. And that's something universal. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how many special effects you have. It doesn't matter how much CGI, how beautiful the movie may appear. If the story is not, if the story is not telling something that speaks to the deepest part of what it means to be a human, it really speaks to our humanity, then it's not going to get any traction.
Well, I do want to say this though, okay, and I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth because I shit on these movies all the time and the shows. I think the best thing Disney's done in recent times, and they didn't even set the path for this. They did, through acquisition, they did take this. I think what they've done with Marvel, I'm not saying it's been executed well, the undertaking of it, the concept of this universe of stories and characters that intertwine throughout multiple different movies. You'll have characters overlap, multiple different shows, and all you have to do is miss one of these movies, and there's shit that won't make sense to you. Just one of these movies. And I think don't quote me, I believe there's close to 40 of these movies now, and probably 8 shows that Disney's been involved in. I believe it's 7 or 8.
Oh, quite a bit, yeah.
Right? So I'm talking, and some of those shows are only 6 episodes, some are 10, some are, you know what I mean? And they have planned for multiple seasons. The massive undertaking of this world building that they've done with Marvel, I don't know if we ever see an undertaking like that again. I don't care if it's Star Trek. I'm not saying the depth of the world. I'm saying the massive undertaking of content.
Oh, I think you're right.
It's never been done. And I find that fascinating. Now, half of them are garbage, but just the undertaking of it. I think that's going to send Disney, if they run it correctly, and they're already failing, if they run it correctly, they could play off this for the next 20 years. 20 years, easy. All right, but yeah, I know we got to wrap it up. So what are your guys' final thoughts you want to leave? That was my piece. What do you want your final thoughts to be? Let's Daniel go, and then you hit us off.
I'm just glad to be back and spend time with all you all. You know, I was living in North Carolina after living here from birth to 35 years. I left at the end of 2020, and you know, I did a lot of cool stuff. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. I became a season ticket holder there, and it was a real honor to accomplish that. And you know, that is really cool to get to see your team play, but it felt empty because it was just me enjoying all this and all that. So, and it was really a tough time to go and find friends and all that. And I established all my friends here in Florida that I left behind. And all the times I talked to Shane, and it got hard to see everybody hang out and stuff. And yeah, it was just difficult because I missed everybody, and I wanted to be part of that. And I just basically went to work and went back home.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point to where I just wanted to, everybody knows everybody that knows me knows I'm not a fan of the warm weather.
Yeah.
But no place in this world is going to be perfect, 100%. So you just have to sit there for any of these people in this world that is wondering, should I go or should I be at one place or whatever. You need to sit down, line up the list of positives and the negatives. And you need to make make sure that those positives are the most important things for you. Like for me, being around my friends, like I got to see a lot of my friends today. That was very important. That's very important for me. Being around the theme parks, that's very important to me, and being a part of things that I love and things to do. There's not really a lot to do in Monroe, North Carolina. Not really. Not compared to like Orlando. And then I have my nephew who I want to build a relationship with. So I decided with those 3 things that trumped everything else, because I'm certainly not a fan of the warm weather. Certainly, consistently hot and muggy.
We have 3 days of winter.
Yeah, 3 days.
Still enjoy those.
Sometimes 4.
Yeah, sometimes 5 if it's a wild year.
Yeah, but it's all good. But
Well, you got a lot off your bucket list. You got the Carolina Panthers ticket, and we're glad to have you back, brother. So
Yeah.
you got to accomplish.
Yeah, bud.
You always wanted to live there. You got to do that. Like you said, a lot of people could not say they were season ticket holders of their team. I'm a Dolphins fan. I love football. I've never been a season ticket holder. That would be fucking huge for me. You got to do that. That's off your list. You know what I mean? You went to a lot of other stuff, and now you're back home, and you can say, I've done these things, and now I'm ready to start from here, and it's great to have you back, brother.
thanks, man.
Yeah. What do you, what's your, how do you want to leave us?
Well,
and I'm already assuming it's going to be wrong, whatever you're saying.
No.
but we'll let you-
The thing I was going to say is all the things you were just saying, feeling alienated and disconnected. That's the way that I feel whenever I go back and watch like Shrek or the Power Rangers or any of those or any of those things that we would have found entertaining at a certain place in time. But now we're not in that place and time anymore, and you look at it and all you feel is just isolated and depressed whenever you watch it. But the thing is, with things like good Disney movies, they're universal, and
They are not Universal. Universal is superior.
well, I was not talking about the proper noun universal. I was using universal just to describe
Oh, okay. Got you. Yeah. Yeah.
an attribute or
My
like their
mistake.
nature.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you go back and you watch a movie like The Lion King or something like that, they're still relevant because they're not trapped in a particular place and time. You don't feel isolated. You're not going to feel isolated from the message of that movie because it is universal. It's uniquely human.
Shane used my heartfelt message and used it for his narrative.
That's what he does.
No, and
I love it.
Yeah.
and let me also say this, that what you were just describing, that's the way I feel whenever I watch Rick and Morty. And I'm going to be willing to endure that for you guys, and to be able to deliver a really honest, very, very well-informed opinion the next time that the three of us get together.
I appreciate your emotional message, Daniel.
Yeah.
He's an emotional vampire, so he just sucks off of that and then turns it into his own.
But
power.
no, Daniel. All joking aside, I'm very, very happy that you're back.
Me too, brother.
I know he was one of the biggest ringleader on that.
Well, I kept on telling you I wanted you to come back, and you finally did. And I wasn't the only one. There were a bunch of us.
I know.
Now, I don't think you ever said that you wanted Daniel to move back.
I like people to make their own choices, and I knew where he belonged, but he had to feel he belonged.
Okay.
And then he made the decision. Yeah, I don't try to coax people or pass on my own stuff like you do.
Well. Listen, I just kept on telling Daniel that I wanted for him to come back, and Daniel finally did.
I did.
I'm thrilled as I'm thrilled as a
Beaver nugget.
As a beaver nut.
I'm thrilled as a beaver eating beaver nuggets inside. Oh no, thank you. That are inside of a Buc-ee's just.
Just eat one for the
Oh
the
no,
people
thanks.
out there.
Yeah.
No, those actually look like those Italian cookies that are covered in honey that people put the little
yeah.
sprinkles on.
Yes.
It's got all the seed oils that you hate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I were to eat those, I'd be the mayor of Seed Oil City tonight.
Yes,
you know.
would. All right, guys. Well, that was a beautiful podcast.
Nico, you finish us off with something.
I did. I already gave my heartfelt message. You want me to give another one?
Yes.
I do have a big personality. I probably do deserve 2 of them. Just that you're right. Actually, that is perfect. Let me go ahead and end this for us. So, along with that, Daniel, of course, we're glad to have you back. I
Yes.
can't say that enough. And it's gonna. I'm looking forward to having you back on the podcast and go and have some fun nights. Especially now we're all a little bit older, a little bit slower, a little bit wiser. So it won't
Especially you.
Yeah, wiser for
No,
sure.
no,
definitely
you're
way
all those things but wiser.
now. All those things, huh? So that's great. And next time, when we do, we will get to see Shane admitting defeat in front of our audience that Rick and Morty will stand the test of time because the writing is just so great that it beats the shit out of The Lion King.
Well,
that's great.
Well,
That's
we will
good
see.
shit.
Oh, is that what your claim is? That Rick and Morty's better than The Lion King? Because
dude.
I can go ahead and tell you right now it's not.
It is 100% better than The Lion King because The Lion King's just Macbeth. So there we go. Talk about ripping off ideas and original characters. So anyways,
And Macbeth is a universal story. That's one of the reasons it's still
No one
relevant.
liked it. No one liked it. Old Bill Shakespeare. Guys,
so we can finish off
good
with that.
podcast.
Yeah, great podcast. Rick and Morty's a terrible show.
Love you
Oh,
guys.
sorry.
Yep.
Very good.
All right, and thank you for joining us, Daniel. And I can't wait for us to do this again soon.
All
Yep.
right.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.